So, we're going to do a brief summary on why Jesus had to die for our sins. Now, right out of the gate, I do want to mention that this is an exhaustive topic that probably will be covered in more detail in future videos, but today we're just going to go over a brief summary and try to cover all of the little bases that are important. So that said, base number 1, sin equals death. We find that by the 3rd chapter of Genesis, Adam and Eve have already sinned, and that the consequences for sin is death. This is something that God relays to them pretty much immediately after they eat the fruit of good and evil, and it's made clear this is the reason that death occurs. Base 2, sin sacrifices. So, starting in Leviticus, we find that God has particular laws for sacrificing. Now, sacrifices were happening before Leviticus. We actually see a little of it in Genesis between Abraham, Isaac, and all of his descendants. But this is the first time that it's actually put into Mosaic law, and this is the stuff that the Jews will be following for centuries to come. And what we find is that of all the types of sacrifices that you can give to God, goodwill offerings, peace offerings, sin offering is the only one that seems to require blood, being mainly the blood of animals, and depending on the severity of the crime, perhaps the blood of people through stoning. Though technically stoning is not sacrifice, stoning is punishment, but they're two sides of the same coin really when we understand that sin equals death. This leads us to base number 3, Jesus being the ultimate sacrifice. Jesus alludes to this throughout the Gospels, but I think what explains it most clearly is the beginning of Hebrews 10, which talks about Jesus being the perfect sacrifice and talking about how all of the sacrifices of animals in Leviticus aren't really proper sacrifices. They don't get the job done right. Hebrews 10 talks about how Jesus is really the ultimate sacrifice and was made sinless so that he could atone for other people's sins. Because we find that sin demands death as per in Genesis, and we see that these sacrifices are necessary to keep us from eternal death as per Leviticus, the Gospels and then Hebrews' summary of the Gospels really kind of just completes our understanding of Jesus's need for sacrificing himself in order for us to effectively be blameless before God. Now, if you're thinking that's covering a lot of stuff really fast and there's a lot more that you want to know about this, I completely understand, which is why we will probably be doing more videos on this in the future in order to cover each of these bases in a little bit more detail. But I decided that I want to just kind of give a quick summary today and see how quickly we can rattle through everything. So if you're interested in knowing more, stay tuned and we will have more videos on the way covering those topics and more. But thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.